Susanna Schick, and I'm here to talk to you about the first R in reduce, reuse, recycle, because it's the one with the greatest potential impact for saving the planet. Far more than recycling or reusing, we can actually reduce our consumption of certain key items and really have a tremendous effect. What can you reduce exactly? There's a number of things. Electricity, meat, water, petroleum products, babies, whatever it is. Although I know you don't consume babies, but I'm sure you plan on producing a few. Delaying your production of them will actually help reduce your consumption of them. So, first I want to talk to you about electricity. A little bit more about what Vika's talked about. The electrical industry, 50% of our electricity in the United States is produced by coal. We know that coal emits about 24% of the greenhouse gases. So it's a very dirty way of getting electricity. If a person wants to have a lot of electricity and doesn't want to emit greenhouse gases, they can switch to a greener method, such as solar, wind, hydroelectric. You know, they're all varying methods that have different levels of impact. Next, I want to talk to you about something sort of near and dear to my heart. And I know a lot of people think, oh, you know, meat is delicious and I just want to eat meat all the time, 3 meals a day. And actually, it's not the best thing for your body, and it's not the best thing for the planet. This is a picture of a cattle farm in California, which smells very strongly every time I drove past it. And it's all brown because it's a lot of cows, but also because it's a lot of manure. That manure produces methane, and that methane gets into the environment and actually affects the greenhouse effect more significantly than the CO2 that comes from our cars. So reducing the amount of cattle that we eat reduces the amount of cattle that we grow for food. Also, it's an extremely inefficient way of getting protein. It requires 5,214 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of meat, whereas it only requires about 25 gallons of water to produce a pound of wheat. That wheat, combined with some rice, some beans, can equal just as much protein as a pound of beef, and be actually more tasty, depending on your preferences. So I recommend that people reduce the consumption of meat. Here we have some lovely, happy, free-range cows. They have a nice green field to pasture in, and they don't produce that much methane because there are fewer of them. So it's something to consider when thinking about your next meal. Maybe branch out and try that veggie burger downstairs. Although I will tell you it's not the best one. There are other vegetarian options available downstairs though. Next I want to talk to you about water, because we talked about how much water is consumed in order to grow cattle. And we also have other uses for water, right? For farming, for swimming pools, for drinking, for showering. And there's many different ways that we can reduce our water consumption. You can shower with a friend, you can shower once a month, you can have a bucket in the shower to collect the water while it's getting up to temperature. There are many different things we can do, and a lot of them you've heard about already, and you're aware of them. So the thing to keep in mind is we are having a drought here in North Carolina, even though it's raining today. We really do need to conserve water as much as possible. Next, I want to talk to you about petroleum products. Petroleum products are a part of our life. From the 60s, the immortal words of somebody in the movie The Graduate is plastics. It's all about plastics. And it has been all about plastics for many years. But the plastics, their days are numbered. Petroleum is reaching peak. You know, we will run out of oil, and when we run out of oil, what will we use for plastic? We can use recycled plastic, but it downgrades with each time it's recycled and becomes less viable. So I highly recommend when you go into your careers and you're in a position of influence, perhaps at Walmart, perhaps at Target, or another company that uses packaging, to recommend, as Walmart has already begun to do, to reduce the amount of plastic in their packaging. Because not only is it wasteful, it's something that is becoming an increasingly scarce resource. Another important use of petroleum is one of my favorite, actually, is for gasoline. Because I certainly enjoy motorsports and I enjoy riding my motorcycle. I wouldn't want to have to walk all the way from Durham. That would be rather difficult. So I recommend that we try to find ways to reduce our consumption of petroleum products. I do carpool when I go out clubbing because I enjoy being the designated driver. So that's one way to save a little energy. And there are many different things that we can do. So next I want to talk to you about a country that represents 5% of the world's population. And that country consumes 24% of the world's energy, consumes 25% of the world's fossil fuels, produces 72% of the world's hazardous waste, much of which is exported to developing countries. And in this country, 200,000 tons of perfectly edible food are thrown away every day. You know, that's right here in the United States, and I know on a certain level we're all guilty of contributing to this because we enjoy our American lifestyle. And it's great to have that, but we can start now to reduce some of our consumption and really not have a real dent in our lifestyle, because we can still enjoy a very fun and fabulous lifestyle without feeling the harm of reducing our consumption. Because you see, the rest of the world is catching up. And we have developing countries like China and India, which as you can see have much larger populations. As those populations increase their wealth, which I certainly hope they will, become at the same level of living standards that we have here, the problem with that is that they will be able to consume like we do, and then do we have enough resources? Some people say that if China and India were at the level of American consumption and waste production, we would need 5 planets worth of resources to cover that. So really, ultimately, it's up to each and every one of us to figure out how we can reduce our consumption and set a strong example for the rest of the world that the United States is not a wasteful, irresponsible country. Thank you. Questions? Yes, Jason.
So 2 questions. Do you use a bucket in your shower?
I keep planning on doing it, but generally I just limit my showers to as few as possible. I mean, really and realistically, I shower 2 or 3 times a week. You know, some people are big on every day, some people once a week. And I would if I had plants in the house. If I had plants to water, it's just, yeah. So I'm always thinking about that. But
My second one is, for those of us who love meat but understand like it's not necessarily the healthiest, maybe some combination like that is, what would your suggestion be to kind of get our eating preferences, your taste buds over to that, considering we have a vampire-like addiction?
Okay, that's a really good question, because I had a similar situation with sugar where I had to eat sugar every day, and I had to actually go cold turkey for a few months to get that taste out of my, you know, the sort of dependency out of my body. But then I'm able to eat it in moderation now. So sometimes that can work, you know, having like a sort of cold turkey and then you can do it in moderation. But you can also just experiment, try something exotic, you know, try some of Champion's, well, I don't know if that's vegetarian Chinese food, but I'm sure vegans make some great vegetarian Indian food, and so that's something I would recommend, trying something different.
All right, I think that's coming over.
Okay, my last question? Yes, Michelle.
With China up and coming, even if the U.S. were to get immediately in line with reducing and reusing and recycling, do you think that would be enough to really inspire the rest of the world to really follow in suit when they're just realizing their industrial legs?
It might not be enough, which is why a lot of people in China are looking at basically leapfrogging the 100 or so years of development that we've had and going directly to green tech and going directly to sustainable methods of development. And so what we can do is help encourage those by companies like Jason Colgate's investing in sustainable ventures in China. And those are ways that we can help that. So thank you guys.